Lil Wayne just had his very own Super Bowl in his hometown of New Orleans. Most people don't realize that Lil Wayne's first album came out over 30 years ago in 1994. Back then, his rap name was Baby D. And now, 30 years later, on November the 2nd, 2024, Lil Wayne reunited with all of the artists that he started his 30-plus year career with. And he ran through his entire catalog of 3 decades worth of hits. He gave us the first Hot Boyz reunion in over 20 years. There was a lot of great moments within this entire show. We're gonna break each and every one of them down within this video, but what people are focusing on is the fact that this was supposed to be Lil Wayne's special moment. This was supposed to be a celebration of his legacy, reminiscing and running through his entire catalog of hits, reuniting with the people that he started everything with. But throughout the entire celebration, there came a moment within the show where Lil Wayne got up to make a speech. Now, most people forget that Lil Wayne is a massive sports fan. I mean, he was watching SportsCenter when he found out that the Carter 3 sold 1 million copies in the first week. And instead of celebrating, he was more concerned with the fact that the Mets just fired their head coach.
Girl, look, boy.
Popular. I was retarded. The Mets fired Willie Randall. That's the truth. Go platinum every day, B. You eat you some soup.
No, don't go platinum these days. Don't go platinum these days.
And he always tells the story of how he became a massive Green Bay Packers fan. Back in, I believe it was 1998, the Super Bowl was in New Orleans and the Packers were playing. And Lil Wayne's stepdad was at the game and got a bunch of Packers memorabilia. So for the next few years, Lil Wayne was drinking out of like Green Bay Packers cups and wearing Green Bay Packers hats without even knowing who they were. That was his introduction into football. From then on, he became a massive Green Bay Packers fan, and he said in this speech that he did at the Lil Weezyana concert the other night, he spoke about how the last time that the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, he was able to rent out a suite and bring his mom and his entire family to the game, and they had a great time.
I did the same when I moved to Miami, and I was wishing my team make it, and guess who made it that year? The motherfucking Saints. I was able to give my mama that suite. She was able to bring my family and other people from New Orleans, and they had a ball.
And after that, he told himself that he would be performing on that Super Bowl stage one day.
That moment I said to myself, I want to be on stage for the Super Bowl one day in front of my mom.
He then said that he did everything he could to earn the position of being able to perform on that Super Bowl stage.
And I worked my ass off to get that position. And
now, later in this video, we're going to dive into whether or not he truly was deserving of that spot. But he ended this speech on kind of a bittersweet note, not necessarily fully negative, but also definitely not positive. He said they basically ripped him from that opportunity of being able to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show, but that this Lil Weezyana Fest was like his very own Super Bowl halftime show and that no one could rip this moment from him.
It was ripped away from me, but this moment right here, they can't take that, man. They can't take that from me.
Now, as far as being ripped of the opportunity, I mean, this was a whole big thing a couple months back when they announced that Kendrick Lamar would be performing at the halftime show. Many celebrities spoke out saying that Lil Wayne deserved it. Many celebrities hinted that it's due to Lil Wayne's issues with Jay-Z that Jay decided to pick Kendrick over Wayne, and there was BS being thrown back and forth on both sides. Some people said it was only Jay-Z responsible for picking who performs at the halftime show. Other people said Jay-Z had no role in picking who was performing and it was the NFL that made the final decision. People said that Lil Wayne wasn't chosen because he was beefing with Jay-Z or he got mad at one of Beyonce's backup dancers backstage. Other people were saying that Jay and Lil Wayne were together at a club like 2 weeks before the Super Bowl announcement was made, and that Jay-Z even helped Lil Wayne pay off a $14 million tax debt a couple years back. Some people were saying that Jay-Z choosing Kendrick Lamar to play at the Super Bowl was revenge for Jay-Z's beef with Drake. Now, I have a whole video covering Jay-Z's back and forth with Drake and Lil Wayne, which has stemmed back surprisingly over 20 years since 2003. I'll leave that in the description of this video, but while there had been tension at one point, many people within the industry had said that Jay-Z actually invited Drake to perform at the Super Bowl multiple times, and Drake rejected every single time. So what's true, what's not, no one truly knows. The only thing that's confirmed is that Lil Wayne thought he'd be performing at the Super Bowl in New Orleans in 2025, and he feels like that opportunity has been ripped away from him. Now, I made a video a couple weeks back saying that I do believe while Kendrick was a great choice, Lil Wayne in New Orleans would have been a monumental performance and that he should have been the performer, because just like they did with the Lil Weezyana Fest, Lil Wayne has survived through so many different eras. He's been around for 3 different decades. He's brought new terms and new words to hip-hop like bling bling, make it rain, drop it like it's hot. Your favorite rapper has dreads, face tattoos, and mumbles using autotune, likely thanks to Wayne. He's ushered in 2 of the biggest rap superstars of all time with Drake and Nicki Minaj. He has probably the most legendary feature run of all time, collaborating with everyone from Beyonce to Jennifer Lopez to Andre 3000 to Usher. And if he hasn't featured on one of your songs, he's likely rapped over one of your beats. I mean, if you're a Wayne fan, you probably know the song Sky's the Limit. That's not even his song originally. That's a freestyle over a Mike Jones record. He's freestyled over everyone's beats, from Adele to Eminem to the Black Eyed Peas to Nas to Jay-Z. Like, Lil Wayne has covered all grounds and has been arguably the most influential rapper in the last 20 years. And while the Lil Weezyana Fest highlighted a big part of his legacy with the Hot Boyz and during the original Cash Money era, like I just mentioned, Lil Wayne has covered so much ground in his 3 decades of being a superstar. And just like they did with Dr. Dre in LA a couple years back, where he did the halftime show and ran through his catalog of hits and brought out guests who were all either his proteges or people that had records with him, recent icons like Kendrick Lamar and Anderson .Paak, to some of the most iconic veterans in hip-hop like Eminem and Snoop Dogg, and everything else in between. And that was a celebration of Dr. Dre's legacy and a reminder of all the eras that Dr. Dre had a hand in cultivating. And I know someone in the comments is going to say Dr. Dre's performance was the only time that someone performed at the Super Bowl in their hometown. They don't usually choose who performs based on where the Super Bowl is, and Lil Wayne felt that because the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, that's why he deserved that Super Bowl halftime show. And my whole argument for why he should be doing the Super Bowl was not necessarily that it was in New Orleans, even though that might make it a little more sentimental, or the audience might be more receptive to Lil Wayne's halftime show, since he is a legend within the city. But my argument for why Lil Wayne should have been the performer this year is because, in my opinion, no one has covered more grounds in such a long period of time within hip-hop than Lil Wayne. I don't think Lil Wayne can do the Super Bowl by himself. I don't think he can cover 15 minutes worth of his own solo material just because of how either vulgar or violent a lot of his subject matter is, which isn't necessarily congruent with the values or standards of what the NFL is probably looking for on that stage. But I thought, and my whole argument in the previous video I made, was that a Lil Wayne and Friends show, similar to the Dr. Dre and Friends show that we saw a couple years back, where Lil Wayne would go through his different eras of hits, bring out all the different people that he put on, like Drake, Nicki Minaj, Tyga, go through all the iconic collaborations that he's had throughout the years with rappers like Eminem, Jay-Z. I mean, a couple of years back, he even had a #1 hit with DJ Khaled, Justin Bieber, or he had a Grammy Award-winning hit with Chance the Rapper and 2 Chainz. Then you could look back 25 years to all the iconic stuff he did with Juvenile, the rest of the Hot Boyz, Birdman, or you go through his mixtape era and bring out all the artists whose beats Lil Wayne freestyled over. There's an endless amount of material and influence that Lil Wayne has that I think going through his different eras, his different collaborators, the different artists that he put on throughout the years, and making like a Lil Wayne and Friends type of show for the Super Bowl would be way more iconic, way more entertaining, and way more innovative in relation to how the Super Bowl halftime show is usually set up, compared to simply a Kendrick Lamar solo halftime performance. Like, look at the Dr. Dre and Friends performance versus all the other performances that came after or before that. I would argue because of how many different icons you saw on stage with Dr. Dre during that performance, it was a lot more memorable and entertaining than any of the Super Bowl halftime shows that we saw in the last couple of years. But as great as I thought a Lil Wayne and Friends halftime performance could have been, seeing him and more importantly hearing him on that stage yesterday kind of showed me that he might not be in the best state to grace a stage as big as the Super Bowl in 2024. A lot of the people point to the fact that his concerts aren't really selling well, so why should he be able to touch the Super Bowl stage where hundreds of millions of people are watching, where he can't even sell out his own solo show? Other people are pointing to the fact that this might just be misplaced rage because people are secretly just jealous or angry that Kendrick is performing. They don't actually really care that Lil Wayne is performing. They made this assumption based off the fact that when Lil Wayne announced this Lil Weezyana Fest, no artist who was raging that Lil Wayne wasn't performing at the Super Bowl, none of them shared the news that Lil Wayne had his own festival in New Orleans. Even his own artists like Drake and Nicki Minaj, Nicki going on a massive rant against Jay-Z at the fact that he didn't choose Lil Wayne for the Super Bowl. She didn't make an appearance or share the fact that Lil Wayne was doing his own festival. Drake didn't make an appearance. Instead, he was raging at DeMar DeRozan at the Raptors game the other night. Gonna have a whole video breaking down that. But The real reason why I don't think Lil Wayne is truly the right fit right now for the Super Bowl is because, as much as I love Lil Wayne, I mean, I watched that whole entire performance, a lot of great moments. It was great to see him, again, going through his whole catalog of hits, reminding the world how iconic and long-standing his career truly is. His voice is just not in the right shape to perform at the Super Bowl. I mean, his breath control is still there, pause, like he still is able to rap fast, rap a lot of words consecutively, like he still is an incredible technical rapper who still has that inherent skill in him where he could just rap nonstop. No backtrack, no nothing. But I don't know if maybe he's, smoked a little too much. I don't know if maybe he's become a little tone deaf over the years. I don't know if he's trying to experiment with this new kind of high-pitched, melodic crooning of his old records. But he does not sound nearly as good as he did 15 years ago, to the point where sometimes it's even kind of hard to listen to. And this pains me as like a Lil Wayne superfan to say. And it's an obvious thing in the last couple of years. I mean, if you just look at some of the records he put out, like he's singing or rapping in this painfully high-pitched voice that he never used to use. And again, still an amazing technical rapper, still can out-rap your favorite rapper. He goes up against Kendrick verse for verse. He can still rap at a very high level alongside with him. But take a look at him performing these hits last night at the Lil Weezyana Fest, and then let's compare it to him performing those same records 10 to 15 years ago. Here's Lollipop today. And here's Lollipop back in 2008. Here's Fireman today. And here's Fireman in 2006.
I don't even need a G-Pass, I'm past that, I'm passing them out now.
I mean, there's an obvious difference here, we can admit that. And I actually saw Lil Wayne perform back in 2023. My city has a curfew where the artist has a hard stop at 11 o'clock. He was supposed to get on at 10. He ended up getting on at like 10:45, so he literally only had like 15 minutes to perform. I was devastated because Lil Wayne's been banned from Canada for several years. I waited like 10 years to watch this guy do a live concert, and he only gave us 15 minutes. It sucked. However, the performance itself was great. Again, breath control, his ability to still rap his old hits with no backtrack, just straight bars. He's still in the top shape to be able to do that, but something is just off with his voice. And unless he can fix that, it's hard to make a strong argument that he deserves to perform on the Super Bowl stage. And you gotta ask yourself, would this be better than this?
Give me Tupac, read back, and I might give you a little respect. Remember, hey, top dog.
Playing with extension. You messed up the lyrics, by the way. Surprised you wanted that feature request. I know we got some shit to address. I even hate when you say the word. That's just me, I guess. Keep making me dance, waving my hands. It won't be no threat.
I mean, Kendrick even had Drake's biggest glazer, DJ Academics, memorizing Kendrick's diss track word for word, singing along to the song during his pop-out performance. So, did Lil Wayne truly get robbed of the opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl? Well, sonically, if he's gonna sound like he did last night, unfortunately, I don't believe that he's the most deserving to be the next Super Bowl headliner. But that is a fixable issue. I mean, we oftentimes do hear Lil Wayne using different voices on different features. Sometimes he raps in this very high-pitched voice that's a little bit hard to tolerate or hard to listen to. But other times he's rapping using this more deep vocal inflection. And when he does, he's back in that tip-top shape. He's back in that prime Weezy bag. And that's been my biggest criticism of Wayne for damn near the last like 10 years. It's not his rapping ability. It's not the quality of his projects or his lyrics. It's just that awful high-pitched voice that he uses. And if you're a real Wayne fan, then you probably know this. Drop a comment if you felt the same way as I have, because I feel like this is an issue that doesn't get discussed enough. It's a very small, distinct criticism of him, but I think it's the biggest flaw or the biggest thing that's held him back from recreating the magic that he made in his prime. And it's the biggest reason why I feel like he might not be the best fit for that Super Bowl stage in 2024. But again, in terms of catalog or longevity, no one comes close to Lil Wayne, and he definitely made that clear at his show last night, where even though unfortunately he was using that high-pitched voice throughout most of the performance, there were a lot of highlights of the show, especially when he ran through his mixtape era. Like when they cut off the beat and he was rapping his Wash My Shoes freestyle completely a cappella, like he was showing you why he's one of the greatest rappers of all time. Or where he was rapping Mr. Carter. His reunion with the Hot Boyz was also really dope. He also got a key to the city of New Orleans, and he even got 2 days dedicated to him in New Orleans that are going to be National Lil Wayne Day. And he deserves these flowers. Again, people really discredit how much influence and longevity Wayne has had in the game. He gets overlooked, and I think a big reason why is because of that nasally high-pitched voice that he uses on records today. And I think that's an even bigger reason why he went through his entire catalog at the Lil Weezyana Fest, but only one record that he performed was released in the last 10 years. Showing you that Wayne has released tons of material recently. His output hasn't decreased, but it has been much harder for him to catch a hit recently than it ever was in his entire career. That was usually his #1 quality, that he was effortlessly able to put out hits at an extremely high pace. And now I don't think it's a question of did he deserve to do the Super Bowl this year, but more a question of, with the way he's been acting ever since Kendrick Lamar was announced as the next headliner of the Super Bowl, is Wayne ever going to get the chance in the future to headline his own Super Bowl? He says he's been trying his hardest and doing everything he could to be deserving of that spot on that stage. And while the Super Bowl does usually choose a performer who is more of a legacy act, like last year we had Usher, a couple of years before that we had Shakira and J-Lo, Dr. Dre performed, Snoop Dogg performed, like it's not usually artists who are necessarily in their prime currently. But I do think it is interesting to note that Lil Wayne went through his entire catalog of hits and not one of them was released in the last 5 years, and only one of them was released in the last 10 years. I think he's criminally overlooked. However, maybe his catalog today isn't relevant enough to make him the strongest contender for that stage. However, again, as a Lil Wayne superfan, someone who thinks his catalog is undeniably one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic and diverse catalog in all of hip-hop, I think the bigger issue and the reason why Lil Wayne wasn't chosen to be on that stage in 2025 is because his vocal delivery isn't what it once was. Which is crazy to say and super ironic because his vocal inflections, his alien-like delivery has inspired this entire generation of artists. Anyone from Young Thug to Lil Baby to Gunna to Future to even more lyrical rappers like Kendrick Lamar or Tyler the Creator have derived a lot of their style from the blueprint that Lil Wayne set forth before them. So it's crazy that that same voice that inspired this entire generation is now, in my opinion, is the biggest deterring factor as to why Lil Wayne might not be the most suitable for that performance today. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Were you happy with the Lil Weezyana Fest? Do you think Lil Wayne should be touching that stage instead of Kendrick? Do you think he might make a guest appearance? I think that's definitely out of the cards considering Drake is his artist and Kendrick destroyed Drake over the summer. Plus, Lil Wayne has not congratulated Kendrick over this performance. Instead, he just said he was robbed of it. And let me know the real reason why you guys think Lil Wayne was not chosen to be the 2025 Super Bowl performer. Drop a like for Lil Wayne, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
There's a lot of little nuggets in both of their disses that if it wasn't for these breakdowns, and salute to, guys like this, Rapaholics, because I think they directly get it.